So we're going to see if this works here. Good afternoon. Just making sure that everything is working. I've just gotten to the point of being able to get a speed good enough to be able to get back. Everything had to be reset with this ice storm and the outages. You know, thankfully we weren't without power, but we did lose our internet. And the internet has been slow to come back to its full strength. So I'm just trying to gauge where I am. I've reset everything, I believe, to where it was once set. And if I have to tweak things along the way, I will do so. But Freedman Media will be back much stronger than the first 2 months. I had to do some analyzing what we did in January, what we did in February, so I can move forward and trying to gauge where we were and where we are now. I see what I need to do, and hopefully we don't have the same obstacles and the same impedances to where we're able to do things a little bit more thoroughly. This is the 60th day of the year, March 1st, and I know for some, we're back to normal. For me, it's the same pretty much every day. Black History Month was in February, and we're going to talk a little bit about Black History Month for what it meant around here within the Ann Arbor Public School System. There's something that I'm going to share, and I really try not to kick anything negatively, but where you leave things on the table, you make it really easy to do so. So I'm going to send out a couple shares and leave this up while we do that. And, we'll get started in a couple minutes. But yeah, we definitely got a couple things that we've got to get off. And it's unfortunate the Ann Arbor Public Schools did what they did for this particular Black History Month. I don't know if I've ever paid as much attention as I paid to this Black History Month in past years, but since I did, we'll hear it today.
You know, this revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First, you tell us that it is manly to keep your word, right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a word, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you.
All right, so I believe things are coming through fairly clearly. I've gotten a couple text messages saying they can hear me. Just want to make sure we're good.
You can kill all the black folks you want, baby, but you will not kill the freedom of black folks. It's coming. We're going to get it. We fought every one of your damn lousy wars, baby, and you give us nothing. Now the war is going to be here, but we're going to be free. Now you kill you want to, but we kill too. In my mind.
It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you.
So what's good, Michigan's brother Tyrone? This is a interesting stream that I've actually put together here. I really didn't know exactly if it was going to even be able to come up. My testing speeds were just not running high enough, and I didn't want to keep freezing or buffering or anything like that. But we're going to try it. We're going to see where we're at. Right now, I'm hearing that I'm good. I have checked my email recently, but I don't know which one you're speaking of. So I have checked my email. I wanted to do this stream based on, and let me come up here, because I had some things I wanted to talk about as far as the Ann Arbor Public Schools with Black History Month. Kind of let the whole NAPID Day thing, I talked about it a little bit, but I didn't really talk about it at great length. So maybe we'll get into a little bit of that today. I had put this together earlier, and we may bypass JJ Redick, get into him maybe a little later. He's not really meant for this space. Erythritol, though. We definitely need to talk about erythritol. We're going to talk about that. A lot of people don't know what that is. A lot of people need to know what that is. So if you don't know, you'll know by the end of this stream. I'm playing catch up a little bit, so I'm going to get that out of the way. I started the beginning of the year trying to get at least on an average a stream a day in. That didn't mean that I was going to stream every single day, but some days I might be able to do 2 or 3 streams. Some days I might not be able to do any. But after the first 2 months, what I was able to generate was a little bit more than half the production that I wanted to. So I said, well, let's get back to doing what we need to do. There's other things that I had going and scheduling. You've got sicknesses within the family, turmoil within the family, pets getting sick, just all kinds of stuff. Business not going the way it needs to go. So you tend to the things that you need to tend to first. I'm never going to make an excuse for having to deal with my family over what I do right now and what I'm doing right here. Obviously, these messages need to get out, but, the things that my family needs and needs me for first, we're going to take care of those first. But Ann Arbor Public Schools did something during Black History Month, which was very interesting. It was very interesting to me. I'll check it out. I'll check out the Kiefer Brotherland email when I get done. They did something, and I won't say that they ignored Black people, but for Black History Month, they chose to include people that weren't Black. As long as you were brown, in some cases, they put you in it. And I'm not sure exactly how far we've gotten away from Black History Month, like the true essence of Black History Month. To me, as an American freedman, as a Black American, I'm looking for things pertaining to that. I'm not looking for the diaspora. When I see a lot of red, black, and green and a lot of this stuff, let's just go to something like this. When I saw this at Huron, and I was like, okay, so they're using the red, black, and green, yellow the RBG colors. But why? I mean, this is America. We're Americans. And I know they want to throw the continent of Africa, which I don't know which country they're including in these colors, but this throws everything off to me. And I didn't know that BSU was anything more than a social club than anything, because BSU, where I knew BSU and where BSU is now, I'm not even sure why it still exists. But let's just stay on task. So with Black History Month, and this was for Spirit Week, I believe at least one or two of these days they were out for snow days or something. But it was crazy to me to see some of the things that my alma mater did. Monday was I Have a Dream Day, so they wore pajamas. I Have a Dream Day, so they wore pajamas. I Have a Dream Day, so we're going to wear pajamas. Okay? That's what we're going to do. Whatever. Tuesday, Day of Unity. Show the unity at Huron by wearing green, red, black, or yellow. Why? Why? If you are a Black American, you are an American, so you should be wearing red, white, and blue. And if you don't have to wear the stars and the stripes. Wrap yourself in the Juneteenth flag. Why are you wearing Pan-Africanist colors for Black History Month? And I know there's going to be some disagreements with this. I get it. Most people don't agree with what I say until they think about it, and then they figure it out and like, oh, I guess he was kind of right. Well, yeah, I guess I'm kind of right here. I mean, I liked the design at first when I looked at it, and I was like, kind of reminds me of some of the old school college gear that they used to have for the HBCUs. And I understood all that, and speaking of that, we'll segue to Wednesday. Wednesday was HBCU College Day. Pop out with your college apparel. I guess that's a new term they use. Pop out. Pop out with your college apparel. Okay. So we want the kids to pop out with their college apparel, their HBCU apparel, or just their college apparel. Because I don't see very many kids wearing HBCU apparel these days, but maybe there are some that still have some. But as far as college apparel, what are kids wearing? Michigan State. Maybe if they're upperclassmen and they know which college they're going to go to, maybe they're wearing that college sweatshirt, sweatsuit, whatever. But HBCU, if you're wearing a Black college for Black History Month, I could see it. But why would you wear a PWI sweatshirt, hoodie, sweatpants, whatever, to salute Black History Month? Just wondering. Thursday, Culture Day. Dress to represent your culture. Well, if it's Black History Month, wouldn't we be representing Black American history? American freedmen history? Why wouldn't we be doing that? Why would we be doing anything but that? And Friday was Blackout Day. You wear all black. Blackout Day, because it's Black History Month. So we're Blackout Day because it's Black History Month. I guess that's why these things are happening. Well, it's how we were raised, So I'm looking at, why did that even have to happen? I mean, just why? And I'm looked at as a naysayer on a lot of things, but I would have saluted this first and foremost had it been correctly put. But with that being said, seeing that it wasn't, that's why I'm where I'm at with it. The HBC apparel is worn mostly in the southern states. I've seen that. This is where I'm getting at. They've turned Black History Month into an All Lives Matter month. And I know y'all think that I'm just jumping on it here, but I got some other stuff that I'm going to bring up. I got some other things that I'm going to bring up. This is not just where I am. You know, there's some other stuff that I'm going to bring up. So it is what it is. They want the other race. They don't want the other races to feel left out during Black History. Fuck them. Okay? If it's Black History Month, you're saluting Black history. Truthfully, it should be Black American history. But if they're going to even include the diaspora, let's get it right. We're in America. Why are we not using American colors? What are we using Pan-Africanist colors for at this point? What has Pan-Africanism done for Black Americans but hold us up? But hold us up. You know, I mean, you had Napid Day, and if anybody saw anything about Napid Day in Ann Arbor and not got pissed off, I'm like, okay, really? Really? I saw more non-brown faces for Napid Day than I had ever seen. That's gone so wayward now. That's gone so wayward now. They need to stop Napid Day now. They need to stop it. And I know it's supposed to be an inclusive day, but if you are not showing the people who the day was meant for on your public pages and those things are being shared about, then what are you doing? What are you really doing? Nappy Day. I know you did that on purpose, Nappy Day. So, it's all good, bro. It's all good. Sometimes I have to read between the lines. Sometimes I add words. Sometimes I don't. You know, it's all good. But some of these things that I do, some of these things that I think about, I know a lot of people figure that it's just me. And I know it's not just me. I'm just the one that actually says things about them. Some people aren't going to say anything about it. They just let it pass, be upset, this, that, and the other. I can't do that. I just can't do that. I've got to at least put myself in a position to say, okay, I tried. I tried on this situation. I tried to make something happen. And where I know people now, I'm trying to actually make sure I need to get rid of that. And I need to get rid of that. Just making sure I don't bring the wrong screens up. So I've got that. All right. But there was a letter. It was a letter from the superintendent. And I'm trying to get this in and make sure I get it in and up before I deal with any type of buffering. So hopefully everything is still going according to plan. Yes. Okay. Let me get back here. I want to share this screen and read this along with you. I was amazed at just reading it. And then once I read it, I've got something that it talks about in the actual email from the superintendent of Ann Arbor Public Schools, who I know now is just tone deaf. She's tone deaf, and I ain't talking about tone deaf like she can't hear. She's skin tone deaf, okay? She's skin tone deaf. So what I don't expect from her is any more than she's giving. I absolutely do not expect. Where my problem is the Black educators. The Black educators who are in the Ann Arbor Public School Collective, what the hell are they doing? Why are they standing on the sidelines and not letting this woman know this ain't your month to really be at the forefront of shit? What you need to do is stand back and stand by and let us handle it. Or do we not have anybody that is thorough enough in the school system to be able to do this. Because, see, I don't know. We might not have anybody thorough enough in the school system. It could be just in my mind. I mean, it literally could just be in my mind. But do we have anybody that's thorough enough to just take the whole school system under their wing during Black History Month? I mean, it is the shortest month. You know, it's only 28 days. And what's that? That gives us about, 20 days of school, barring any snow day. They had some snow days. They had a lot of snow days. So really, they didn't even have to deal with these kids a lot of times during Black History Month. A lot of the Black history activities had to be canceled because there was no school, or melanated days, or all-purpose day, or nappy day, or whatever. What'd you say? Hold on one second. I'm gonna get this in here. And you said, you know, now most don't even live in Ann Arbor. Abbott has no Black teachers. What? So the only Abbott Elementary that has Black teachers is the one that's on Channel 7? The only Abbott Elementary got Black teachers, Everybody Hates Chris and Cheryl Lee Ralph. And what's the little girl who's the star of the show? Quinta, what's her name? Quinta? That's crazy. Abbott has no Black teachers. And Abbott's a West Side school. Abbott's a West Side school, which was densely populated with Black kids at one time. Wow. So many non-student days there. It's utterly ridiculous. Yeah. One mixed teacher. I think you meant who's married to a white man. Well, maybe they filled the quota with that. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant. So, yeah, you're right. It was densely populated. You're right. So I want to read this so everybody can understand. This is kind of where I came in with I wasn't going to say anything. Don't worry about it. Keep your eyes on the road, 10 and 2. I wasn't going to say anything at first, but then when I saw this email, I was like, I got to say something. I really do. I got to say something. So I'm saying something. I'm going to say something. And we've got to be able to, so where am I at right here? There we go. Ann Arbor Public Schools. This is from the superintendent. Ann Arbor Public Schools. February 28, 2023. On every day of the school year. Now, this is not just for Black History Month. So keep in mind, on every day of the school year in the Ann Arbor Public Schools, teachers and students, support staff, school leaders, and our community recognize and celebrate the important contributions African Americans have made throughout history. In the month of February, the AAPS spotlights this focus as we celebrate Black History Month in our classrooms and within each school community. Okay. Black History Month. Now, I don't know why they would celebrate Black History Month at Abbott if ain't no Black kids there, but, you know, it is what it is. I mean, well, you got one mixed teacher, so I get it. Black History Month or National African American History Month. Is that the name they changed it to? National African American History Month? wow, is an annual celebration of achievements by African Americans. It is a time for recognizing the central role of African Americans in our nation's history. Brought a tear to my eye there. Black History Month was officially recognized. See, when they go into stuff like this lets me know that they're just really trying to fill in the space. She really didn't have anything to say during this letter, so she just wanted to fill in the space. So she gonna go all the way back to the origin of Black History Month. Black History Month was officially recognized in 1976 by President Gerald Ford, who called upon the country to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Since 1976, every U.S. president has officially designated the month of February as Black History Month. So, whether a president recognizes something or not doesn't make it what it is. That just lets us know that y'all say, okay, this is a time that you guys are going to do what you're going to do, and we're going to just make fun of you. We're going to make fun of you. We're going to ridicule you. We are designated those 28 days. So there's some of the most debaucherous stuff that happens during February that doesn't happen in any other month. Black History Month is just a targeted month for people who do not like Black people. And hell, people who probably associate with Black people, whether they like them or not, still make fun of Black History Month. The fact that it's February, 28 days, shortest month, yada, 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 whatever. Canada and the United Kingdom, as well as other countries around the world, also devote a month to celebrating Black history. I don't know if it's February. She just said devoted a month. So I don't know if it's February or not. The 2023 theme for Black History Month explores how African Americans have resisted historic and ongoing oppression in all forms. By resisting, Black people have achieved triumphs, successes, and progress, as seen in the end of chattel slavery, Jim and Jane Crow. What? There was a Jane Crow too? So there was Jim Crow and there was also a Jane Crow? I didn't know this. So I just learned something in the Ann Arbor Public School Black History Month. What? There was a Jane Crow? How come nobody told me about Jane Crow? How come nobody said nothing? Jane Crow? Really? I didn't know there was Jane Crow. You went to a HBCU, Mashonda. You didn't know about Jane Crow? What's going on with y'all? Y'all got to catch up. Superintendent Swift is putting y'all up on Black history. Jane Crow. Yeah. Jim and Jane Crow, segregation in the South, increased political representation at all levels of government, desegregation of education institutions, the passage of Civil Rights Act 1964, the opening of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History, in Washington, D.C., and increased diverse representation of Black experiences in media. Black resistance strategies have served as a model for every other social movement in the country. Man, she came with it there, boy. She came with it. I mean, I knew it was all downhill from there. Once she said Jane Crow, I knew it was all downhill. Last week's A2 Schools podcast focused on Black History Month in the AAPS by talking about a pair of events with Skyline teachers Kathy McKircher and Tanya Whitehorn, and Eberwhite teacher Stephanie Bernstein. Now, I can guarantee you at least two of them people aren't Black, but I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that. Maybe not, but I'm pretty sure. At Skyline, African American humanities students will share their annual Black history presentation, Be the Dream, on March 2nd. That's tomorrow, y'all. Don't miss it. At Eberwhite, a periodic table of Black history serves as a way to amplify the voices of African Americans from the past and the present. Who they gonna talk about? Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Barack Obama. There you go. assembly over. The teachers are also shared insight on the importance of amplifying the often unheard voices of African Americans throughout history. You can listen to the podcast here. You know what? Y'all about to listen to the podcast right here. Additional highlights of the many events across our schools include student-created posters, video, and artwork lifting up the contributions of African Americans, discussions on the importance of equity, inclusion, and social justice reform. A student created a wax museum of famous African Americans. Black History Month highlights shared during announcements. Libraries highlighted works by African American authors and books focused on historical Black figures, and assemblies focused on African American culture, including performance by Vincent York's Jazz Street. Okay. We are a stronger Ann Arbor Public Schools community as we honor, embrace, and celebrate our diversity, continually create a culture of belonging for all, and value the connections that unite us as an inclusive. Yeah, they got to get that inclusive in there. They don't want to leave you Negroes out. Well, the ones that are left. Inclusive Ann Arbor community. Sincerely, Janice, whatever her name is, Kerr Swift. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I'm back. Okay, I got it. No, that wasn't a typo. She said Jim and Jane. So I don't know if Jim and Jane were brother and sister. I don't know if they're a husband and wife, but now that we know this, we better be up on our history. My friend did Evil White and she is Black. Evil. Is that a typo there? Is it Evil White or Eber White? What is that about? So, as I said, the podcast, no more. Okay. It's not a typo. Okay. Reading this, I mean, come on, man. She didn't need to do that. She didn't need to do that letter, just like they didn't need to do any of the other stuff. Huron didn't need to do this. And she didn't need to do that letter. And Ann Arbor Public Schools could have just left it up. Maybe they should have just took that logo right there and just made that logo like red, black, and green, and for Black History Month. And I don't know. But, Jim and Jane Crow, I'm about to go look that up for real. When I get out of here, after I get Lulu back here, safe, snacking, I'm looking up Jim and Jane Crow. I want to know where that term came from. If she created that term, come on, man. Jim and Jane Crow. Now, please don't let this be one of them inclusive things that we've got to have it be equality. Because if she's going to say that she did that, Jim and Jane Crow, for equality's sake, I'm going to cook her slow. Real slow. Because she got some other greasy stuff that I ain't really said. I ain't really talked about. I've just kind of let go because I'm just like, you can only pile on so much. But this Jim and Jane Crow thing, how many people looked at this? How many Black parents in Ann Arbor Public Schools actually looked at that letter yesterday? I want to know. I want to know how many Black parents looked at that letter and saw Jim and Jane Crow and stood back and said nothing. That's our problem, y'all. That's our problem. And then she talking about they do stuff all with the announcements and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, this is what they was doing in Ohio. I can't say they was doing it in Michigan, but this is what they was doing in Ohio when the school announcements were being read during Black History Month. Ohio teacher placed on leave after racist image shown during school announcements. This is just one of many things that I saw disparaging things that I saw during Black History Month. But they show an animal eating watermelon, and this was shown during the announcements, the school announcements. You looked and read the first line. See, you got to read deeper. Stop reading the headlines. We good for reading the headlines. Don't read the headlines. Dig in them paragraphs. That's where you find Jim and Jane at. Are we going to have to find out more about Jim and Jane? I only knew Jim up until about 10 minutes ago. Now I know that there was a Jane Crow. No wonder it was so bad. No wonder it was so bad. Some of the craziest enslavers out there were women. Most people don't talk about that. Most people think that a slaver was a man. No, most of the violent ones were really women. And maybe that's what Jane Crow, maybe that's what she descended from. Maybe that's what Jane Crow descended from. I mean, we know Jim Crow was the devil. But Jane Crow, she must have been bad too. She must have been really bad. Jane Crow. Interesting. So what I did was I listened to the part of the podcast. I didn't listen to it all because I really wanted to just get this off my chest. And I know I had some other things captioned that I wanted to talk about, but I might not get to them just due to time's sake, because this is so much more important. This is so much more important because what I'm doing is I'm drawing something up. I'm drawing a play up. And I need people to listen, because I listen to like the first 15, 16 minutes of this podcast. And I'm going to bring it all the way back to the beginning so y'all can listen to it with me, okay? Y'all can listen to it with me. Let me bring up the Ann Arbor Public School logo. And I'll bring it up, come on up sideways here. And this is the Ann Arbor Public Schools Celebrating Black History Month podcast. Okay? In 1 second.
Welcome to the A2 Schools podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Cluley, Director of Communications here in the Ann Arbor Public Schools. I'm joined, as always, our Superintendent, Dr. Swift. Thanks for being here today.
Well, good afternoon, Andrew. It's great to be here.
And we also have 3 teachers from the Ann Arbor Public Schools. It's great to get the teachers in on the A2 Schools podcast.
How's that sound?
From Skyline High School, Tanya Whitehorn is here, and Kathy McKercher. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And from Eber White Elementary, we have 3rd grade teacher Stephanie Bernstein.
Thank you for having me.
So we thought that since we're still in the middle of February, and that's Black History Month, that we would focus in on a couple of events that are representative of some of the things that are going on across the district this month in honor of Black History Month. And so that's why we've chosen these teachers.
You know, Andrew, we always feel it's important every day of our instructional year to emphasize the contributions and the work of African Americans in our country and in the world. What I especially enjoy about February, though, is our teachers and teams just dial it up to a level of celebration. And so what I'm excited about for today is for these teachers, you've chosen them because they're doing some really amazing work. And that's part of an overall, overall effort to celebrate this month. And we'll be sharing more about that at our next board meeting.
So we'll start at the secondary level with the Skyline High School. Every year, the students in the African American Humanities classes get together. They create a Black History presentation. I know that this year the theme is Be the Dream. I'm hoping that Tanya and Kathy, you can expound a little bit on the theme of this year's presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kathy. And basically, we look at the local level first and see what their themes are going to be at U of M, at Eastern, and then we look at the national theme and we present those to the students and they help us choose what they want for this year.
And so they chose to Be the Dream. I'm assuming that this is tied to MLK, but is there anything more specific about it that is in the dream?
Yeah, this is Tanya. And so when we looked at what the University of Michigan was doing and what Eastern had for their specific Martin Luther King Jr. celebrations, we wanted to not only choose a theme, but we also wanted to empower students. And so we looked at old video clips of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech and some other lesser known speeches of his. And the students really wanted to feel like they had a choice in what their lives look like and how they want to enter the world. And so we came up with this Be the Dream. So it's not only a challenge to students, but adults also who might be looking at the program, that we do have some power over our lives.
Great that it's both the challenge aspect, but also that empowering aspect, which I know is great message for the kids to get as well. What kind of things are people going to see if they either get to attend the event in person, or if they're just going to watch it in the video of it after the fact?
So every aspect of the show is student created, including backstage work. They choose the lighting, they run, all the mics, and then students have been working on for the last month or so different segments. So it might be poetry, dance, step, art, history, and I think we've covered everything, right? So and then they also will run the entire show from the beginning to the end. They're the ones at the podium speaking, introducing each other, and celebrating together.
You know what I love about your show, I've had the opportunity to see parts of it in the past, is it really does raise that learning to the level of empowerment of students. And when your students have been at the board to share parts of that with us, I'm always just amazed at how much they own their voices. And because of that work that you all have set them up to do, how powerful their voices really are. And so I just wanted to call that out.
Yes, that's a good place to stop. That's a good place to stop right there. Where this is going to go, it's not going to stay here. I don't know. Like I said, I believe the lady Tanya, I believe she's Black. I believe she's an African American. I can't profess that of anybody else in the room. So hopefully I'll get clarity on who was actually on this cast and what they were. I heard something a little bit earlier where it said they allow the students to come in and do everything, and they conduct all the stuff. Why didn't they allow the students to do this podcast or participate in this podcast that were Black Americans? That's one of my first things. Like, why do we have people that aren't us talking about us or talking about what happened with us? I'm not sure exactly where the issue with having us do us. But we've gotten to that point. When I saw what Napa Day has turned into, I said, let me just let the rest of this month go. And let's see exactly empowerment. Let's see exactly what they're going to do. Are they going to come home? Are they going to really bring it at the end? But then getting this email and seeing that link to listen to this podcast, I was like, okay. So let's just get back into it. But the superintendent here let me know she shouldn't be in charge of anything dealing with us. Now, she's going to sign off on some things. I get it. But if there's nobody else stepping up, as Mashonda said, there really isn't anybody to step up and step in, she's going to facilitate these types of things. And Black History Month is going to be All Lives Matter Month. It's going to be Melanated Person Month. It's going to be POC Month. It's going to be Minority Month. This is what it's turned into. So let's just jump back into celebrating Black History Month in our Public Schools podcast. That's what it's called. That's just what it's called.
as really much more than observing a Black History Month. It's a really, to me, a transformational experience, not only for the students involved, but for all of us who are fortunate to get to see that show.
Yes, I think at the you know, at the end of it, the students are really proud of themselves. We are so rewarded with seeing them smile. Sometimes there are tears at the end of the show, and they really feel, for some of them, the first time they feel good about something that's school related, that they've produced, that they've written. And, you know, because humanities is art, English, music, dance. So we try to incorporate every part of what humanities is into the show. We tell the kids, this is a theme, and you have to figure out how to communicate that theme to an audience of students and showcase what you've learned in the classroom. You're just not here to perform, you're here to educate the student body. So show them what you've learned. And so at the end of each show, they feel really good about themselves and what they've been able to produce. And it's really rewarding.
Do you see students?
So this will never be about condemning what the kids' efforts are, because the kids are only going to be able to produce with the resources that they're given. Now, they said that they give them the task, and then the kids are to go out and make something happen, educational as well as entertaining for the student body. I get all that. But when they're only given so much to do, how expansive can this really be? Because I know that the Black history that's still being taught in Ann Arbor Public Schools is still very, very pruned. It's trimmed. It's slim at best. And they're still using Martin Luther King analogies in 2023. I mean, I'm not saying we need to get past Dr. King, but we need to get past Dr. King. Come on now. Can we not quote anybody else? Is that what this is about? Do we not give them the flexibility to look at other individuals who might have said something profound in Black American history? Why are we still stuck on Doc? Dr. King was beautiful. Dr. King was great. But the Dr. King that they want to talk about is the Dr. King in 1963. Don't nobody want to talk about 1967 Dr. King. They only want to talk about 1963 King. If they would at least allow the kids to advance and talk about 1967 Dr. King, we might have something. They only talk about be a dream. I have a dream. I had a dream. We're dreaming. Don't stop me. I'm dreaming. Don't wake me. I'm dreaming. What? It's always a speech. Dr. King's had thousands of speeches that they could recite from, but we're only going to talk about the dream. That's crazy. That's exactly what it is. It's their version. Yep. Safe like seatbelts. Keep you strapped in. Come on now.
Just completely come out of a shell where it's, you know, you wouldn't expect to hear much from them.
Hold on one
second. All of a
second.
sudden you give.
They've been able to produce, and it's really rewarding.
Here we go.
Do you see students that just completely come out of a shell where it's, you know, you wouldn't expect to hear much from them, and then all of a sudden you give them this opportunity and they just shine?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we do. I don't want to. We strongly encourage students. I was going to use the word push, but no. We encourage students to come out of that shell, because a lot of times, especially the students who say that they are quiet, a lot of times that quietness is because their self-esteem is low. And so we say, well, just do one.
A lot of people are quiet when they lack knowledge. A lot of people are quiet when they lack expertise in something. A lot of people are quiet when it's foreign to them. All those things tie in. If y'all want to do everything in 1 month, they talking about in that email every single day of the school year, they celebrate African Americans in the Ann Arbor public school system. Why would she even start her email with that? Y'all saw it. She said every single day of the school year. Every single day. That's a lie. That is a flat out lie. Here, let me get back to that. Let's go back up to the top of this. On every day of the school year in the Ann Arbor Public Schools, teachers and students and support staff and school leaders of our community recognize and celebrate the importance contributions of African Americans have made throughout history. That is a lie. That's a lie. She knows that's a lie. Oh, I didn't have that big enough for y'all. Y'all can see it now. That's a lie. Why would she lie like that? Why would she say that? On every day of the school year in the Ann Arbor Public School system, teachers, students, support staff, school leaders, come on now. I haven't heard anything from any kid that goes to Ann Arbor Public School talk about no Black history, even in Black History Month. So why would she say that? Why?
One thing in the show, you don't have to, perform. Maybe you can manage backstage. Maybe you can make sure all of our mics are active. Maybe you can make sure that you're marking the stage so students know where they stand. So getting them to be an active participant in their learning and feeling good about themselves. So yes, we see them come out of a shell, but we also try to encourage them to go beyond what they've done.
And if you take those students, for example, that Tanya shared with us, many of them end up learning the script, they memorize it, and then they give feedback to the other students. And they'll say, I think your poem needs some shorter lines here, or you might want to incorporate this in the background to make your speech more meaningful. And all of that just seems to come naturally. But if we had them try it in the classroom, it wouldn't happen. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience all around for them and for us.
To me, that's the highest purpose of learning, is to find that passion and to bring together a group of individuals and have them produce something together that not only transforms them, but really is powerful and transformative for the audience. And I can say that it does that for me, and I know for others who've been a part of it. So thank you for that work.
And I can only just add that if you get an opportunity to watch the video, I encourage you to do so. I have not seen any of this year's performance, but I have seen those in the past. And I don't believe it's just the kids that end up with some tears on their face from time to time. So we also want to talk about the Black History Month efforts at the lower levels. So that's why we've got Ms. Bernstein here with us to talk about a great presentation that's up on the walls at Eberwhite Elementary, a periodic table of Black history. Can you talk, Ms. Bernstein, about where the idea came from?
Sure. I did not create this idea. It came from two librarians from Lakeland, Florida. In 2019, they were trying to come up with a way to spark conversations about
Eberwhite.
Black History Month through the lens of all these voices that may have not had an opportunity to be amplified in the past, or even current African Americans who are making their mark and making our country a better place. So they came up with this periodic table, and they had such an impact, and it went viral, that they offered a lot of their pieces for free. So we took their template to create our own periodic table, and then we found QR codes from another teacher, and then added the missing one. So we put all those missing pieces together to create a final periodic table that is set up in a similar way where it's color-coded categories. For example, there are activists, actors, athletes, scientists, entrepreneurs, people who were famous firsts in different categories. And for each individual, there's a QR code that if you go up, you can pop into their biography. And the idea behind this was a way to connect our community to something bigger than what each of the classes was doing on their own. So
now Black History Month is a QR code. If you got a smartphone, you can encapsulate Black History Month with Ann Arbor Public Schools through QR codes. Oh, I'd say so. This is very dangerous. They have minimized Black History Month to a QR code. Black History Month assemblies, Black History Month displays to a QR code. What makes you think that any of these kids are going to use a QR code with their phone that they have to get off of TikTok, Snapchat, IG, Twitter? Kids really don't use Facebook that much anymore. I mean, they do, but they don't. What makes you think that that's going to have more relevance because you're using the newest form of communicative technology? We went from barcodes to QR codes. Okay, I get it. But why? Why is that? What's wrong with actually having the display be outward? Why does it have to be seen through a QR code? Because you ain't got a QR finder, you're hit. You're hit. Now, most of these kids have iPhones or Androids, so of course they're going to have that. But maybe some don't. I don't believe it'll be addressed at all after Black History Month. It'll be on a volunteer basis. And the kids walking by the displays or whatever, oh man, let me stop and see what this QR code is so I can change my day. I've been feeling kind of down, but you know what? Let me hit this QR code so I can check out some of my history. Who are they fooling with this?
it's part of our ongoing month-wide activities, starting with a 4th and 5th grade musical, The Quilt Speaks, that Jeffrey Willits, our wonderful music teacher, had the students perform. And then a lot of the classrooms are doing biography pieces through February and March. But I do want to speak to something you said earlier, Dr. Swift, which was that February is not the only time where we consider Black history. And in 3rd grade, it starts for us as an ongoing conversation throughout the class and throughout the year. It starts with Constitution Day at the beginning of the year, where we talk about a famous painting of the Founding Fathers, signing the Declaration of Independence. And we ask the kids to look at the picture and tell us what they notice and what they do, what's in the picture and what's not in the picture.
Do they talk about Black Americans were still enslaved? The Declaration of Independence. Do they talk about that Black Americans were still enslaved? I want to know that. Because if you're talking about the Declaration of Independence, you need to make sure that all the kids know Black people weren't free when this came about. When this all happened, when we got our freedom in this country, we still held Black Americans in shackles. They were not a free people yet.
Start of the conversation we have all year about underrepresentation and why representation matters, whether it's in politics or in the books that we read or in the people we see in our community. And so this is a way for us to spotlight and focus on providing voices, like I said before, for those who we may not have heard of before.
That's wonderful. Kathy, I just am so impressed with third graders, really thinking critically in the way that you've described, and the super learning that occurs when the whole school, elementary school, comes together around an endeavor beyond what's going on in their individual classrooms. I always think those are seminal, teachable moments.
And I got to say, this periodic table seems like the type of thing that was probably an educational experience for the adults as they come into the building as well, that there's probably individuals on that table that they may not have heard of. And what's the reaction you've gotten so far this month in terms of parents or staff members or anyone coming into the school and seeing it, and what's the reaction that's happening?
After they say, "Oh, wow," it's right in when you walk in the front foyer. It's right there. And I will see people popping out their phones to scan a QR. There are some rec and ed classes there in the evenings, and I've seen parents waiting outside for their kids outside the gym with their cameras out. So there's been a really positive reaction. I've learned things from it. And our next step, there were many teachers who helped put this up and put it together. Our next step with this is we were thinking, we should have the kids do the research and create our own periodic table where it becomes what you're doing at Skyline, where it becomes more student-led and student-centered. And so we're hoping this will be the catalyst to that.
And it's back to, I recall what Tanya said earlier about you're not just here to perform, you're here to educate. And so I just love that our students are not only learning as consumers, but they're learning to model and to teach others. And isn't that life learning? And we all know that as teachers, that we don't really learn something until about the 29th time we've taught it. And actually every time we teach something, I think we learn also, don't we?
So as I said, we've highlighted just two of the many, many events that are going on across the district in honor of Black History Month, but just the importance of making February highlighting Black history, but doing it really throughout the year as well. What is the value for all students when we do that?
At the elementary level, I think it provides them with a way to contextually analyze the world around them and learn how to question and learn how to really think deeply about what they're learning, what they're not learning. And it provides them with the scaffold to kind of build on that. And if I could say, just to help them learn, question everything and wonder about it. And you can then be agents of change. So for me, I think of it as this is kind of a gateway into your job as a citizen and social activism by thinking about your own role in that.
One of my goals, I have two for every class. One is that our students be able to look in the mirror and begin to love what they see, what images are shown back at them. That's the one goal. The second goal is that our students begin to humanize people, that especially marginalized people, that we move from beyond numbers on a page or photos in a history book, that you begin to see people.
Who is she talking about?
And that you don't other them. And so when we begin to...
Who's other? Who is other? What is this babble? What is this babble? Whatever.
Uncover stories about people who don't look like us, that don't believe like us, that don't love like us, that we can truly understand that there doesn't have to be one way in this world, and you need to be understanding and willing to listen. And so that second goal is to always get our kids to begin to humanize others and begin to love themselves along the way.
Wow, that is a powerful statement. And really, it's always been important. And you guys have been doing this work for a few years.
Oh my God.
Many years, I might add.
Come on now.
Statement. And really,
come on now.
It's always been important.
Along the way.
Wow, that is a powerful statement. And really, it's always been important. And you guys have been doing this work for a few
Gotta
years.
love it.
Many years, I might add. But I tell you, there's never been a more important time for that message. And we've always talked about mirrors and windows, but you added to that, Tanya, with the humanizing factor in being sure that we don't other, because we've learned to open the doors, not to close the doors. So thank you.
That is definitely a good message. And that will, speaking of the word good, will take us to the good news segment here on the A2 Schools podcast. And in good news, we're going to celebrate a couple of recent performances by students. We'll start with Future Stars 2023. Every year, the Pioneer Theater Guild puts on this talent show for young high school students across Ann Arbor to show off their talents. And they were able to get back into Schreiber Auditorium for the first time in quite a few years. So that's a big excitement. And there was over 20 acts that participated this year. So that's a good number. And the overall winners were Pioneer Juniors Lucy Deneen and Teddy Tolbert.
It's just the way it is, and maybe it's never gonna change. But I got a mind to show my strength, and I got a mind to speak my mind. And I'm gonna pay for this, and they're gonna burn me at the stake. But I got a fire in my veins. No, I was in baseball tonight.
Oh boy.
So congratulations to them and congratulations to everyone else who participated in Future Stars.
Congratulations, Lucy and Teddy, just rock stars. I mean, every year, just the winners and all the participants of that at that event are just so impressive.
And the other good news that I want to highlight is the Pioneer A Cappella Choir getting the chance to perform at Hill Auditorium as part of the Psalms, Hymns, and Spirituals, the music of Stacey Gibbs concert that took place, I think, last week.
You want some black music? Here's your black stuff.
And they were the only high school group that got to participate.
Wait a minute.
There were groups from the University of Michigan.
Just in case you missed it.
It's, I think, last week. And they were the only high school group that got to participate. There were groups from the University of Michigan, Oakland University, and Wayne State University. And then the Pioneer A Cappella group got to perform, which is just quite an honor. And of course, that concert was in part a Black History event as they were celebrating the music of Stacey Gibbs.
So congratulations to Pioneer A Cappella and director Stephen Lorenz. Just an amazing group. Now, I'd really love to see the recording of that one also. Andrew, if you can make that happen, huh?
All righty. Well, I just want to thank all three of our teachers that joined us today. Tanya Whitehorn, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Kathy McKercher, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And Stephanie Bernstein, thank you very much for joining as well.
Thank you.
And Dr. Swift, thank you as always for being with us.
Yes, thank you all. You made it so special to be here today. We brag about Black History activities going on in the district, but how much better to have it straight from you, straight from the classroom. And we'll be gathering up some video and getting ready to share at our next board meeting the highlights. But you guys are right out there making it happen. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the A2 Schools podcast. As always, if you have any questions about the Ann Arbor Public Schools, the first place to go is our website, a2schools.org. If you have a topic that you'd like to have us discuss on a future episode of the A2 Schools podcast, don't hesitate to email me at communications@a2schools.org. And thanks again once more for listening to this week's edition of the A2 Schools podcast.
Now that's a top-notch production. I have to give it to them. They are a top-notch production. Audio was clear. Intro, outro music. I have to give it to them. Top-notch. Everything in between, whatever. Okay. But that's it. That's what Ann Arbor Public Schools and Black History Month is now. That's what it's come to. And once again, I'm not slighting any child that put forth their efforts to do what they felt in their spirit in Black History Month. Kids are only going to do as they're taught. They're only going to do as they're shown. They're only going to follow as they're led. And this is where Black History Month is now in the Ann Arbor Public School system. I mean, the Ann Arbor Public School system has gotten to the point where it's got to be a confusing place for a lot of Black American kids. But because there's so many biracial kids, triracial kids, quadracial kids, that they're turning Black History Month into just a melanated day. And I'm going to end the stream on this, because when I saw this, and I don't really deal with this person like on a regular basis, but when I saw this, I thought this was actually some of the most insulting stuff. And I was like, wow, just heard East Arbor has a Melanin Day for Spirit Week. I mean, am I wrong for being highly offended? It's where students can wear any shade of brown. Am I making a mountain out of a molehill? And like I said, I happened to see this post as I was scrolling. This is days ago now. It was days ago. But a Melanin Day. This was still during Black History Month, of course. This is the first day out of Black History Month. So this was obviously still during Black History Month. They had a Melanin Day. Melanin Day. Melanin Day. Yeah. Okay. I really don't want to tell East Arbor and any other school system who tries this what they can do with their Melanin Day. But yeah, that's what we've come to. That's what we've come to. It's not Black History Month anymore. It's Melanin Month. They've got Melanin Day. Pretty soon they'll have Melanin Week. Huron had wear black, wear this, wear that. It's done. As far as I'm concerned, Black History Month is done. 100% co-opted. Over. And I definitely have to say Ann Arbor Public School had a great hand in it, at least on the local end. I can't even imagine what it is in communities that aren't as diverse as us. But y'all be good, man. I didn't get a lot of my captions off, but I don't think I really needed to. I got this going, and I'll finish all the other stuff on the next stream, whether it be in the car, whether it be in here. AAPS. Wow. You're right. Wow. So y'all be good. And I just don't know what to say other than the fact this is where we're at in this country. And we're being left behind in this country. in plain sight.
You know, this revolution is filled with so many
Yeah, what it
ironies,
is.
really. First, you tell us
One love.
as man need to keep your word, right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm.